You guys know my viewpoint on Shrek, the first movie. I don't need to say more, just go see that video, I'll link it in the description or something. One thing for sure is, I love its sequel, Shrek 2, and for a huge reason I love that film is because Puss in Boots is probably one of the best characters ever. Taking a character who is a parody of Zorro, another film I love, and then getting Antonio Banderas to play that role is one of the meta things ever. It's brilliant. So when Puss in Boots got its first spin-off film back in 2011, that film was okay. It wasn't anything special, but you can enjoy it. But a good thing and a bad thing about living in the UK is a lot of animation films come out in the US about 2 months before they come out here in the UK. And all I saw was how amazing this film was. Hi there, it's me, the Average Critic. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's talk about Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, Dreamworks' most surprising movie. So, spoiler alert for this film, but this film technically came out last year for all you US folks, but for us Brits, it's just come out. So Puss in Boots The Last Wish tells the story of the character who goes in search of the last wish, a mythical item after losing all of his 8 lives, and he needs the wish to get them back. Spin-off films are very rare, usually dividing fans and how popular they are. Films like Finding Dory, which for someone like me, I really enjoyed that film, but when looking at the community, there are a lot of people who don't enjoy that movie. And while the first movie feels like an okay film, but feels like an easy cash grab of a fan favourite character, Puss in Boots The Last Wish feels genuine, heartfelt, and tells a meaningful story that we haven't really seen since something like the last How to Train Your Dragon movie. The animation in this film is the biggest standout stylistic choice. Similar to the animation of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Puss in Boots blends its animation with main scenes looking like a traditional computer-generated animation movie, but changes during the action sequences. I don't know why, but this style of animation has a future in action, because the action sequences are amazing. They're incredible to watch, and it adds such a level of style and fun to the film. The film is clearly inspired by films like The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, and even Kill Bill that gives the film such weight. As much as films like How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda are amazing films in their own right, Puss in Boots The Last Wish feels the most dark and gritty, even giving Pixar a run for their money. And again, for a spin-off film about a side character, that is incredibly surprising. The laughs in this film also feel really good. Antonio Banderas and all the cast give amazing performances. Harvey Gillen, I hope I'm saying that name correctly, gives such a fun performance as this therapy dog who joins Puss in Boots on his adventure. He's so cute and so funny, and the rest of the cast all have standout moments. Speaking of that humour, this film does something no film in animation has ever really done, and that is having literal swear words in their movie. It bleeps them out, which of course makes it all the more funnier, and it uses it incredibly well. It only happens a few times, but when it does, it truly makes you laugh out loud. But as much as it is used for humour, it more than heightens the more serious tone of the movie, which is something very surprising to use humour to increase the dramatic tone of your film. I also do have to mention Goldilocks and the Three Bears, who are in this movie, and as someone who was born and raised in Britain, the actors and the dialogue these characters have is truly a treat. I don't think an American is going to enjoy these characters as much as me, but it is so funny and so true to the script, and I absolutely loved it. One thing Dreamworks have always struggled for me is writing. Even in the more popular franchises, there are moments of slightly humorless dialogue, or perhaps moments where Dreamworks are afraid to trust their audience to perhaps know what's going on. But Puss in Boots The Last Wish truly trusts its audience. Even by Dreamworks standards, you're expecting the comedy sidekick to tell a poop joke or do something purely for the kids. But not once in this film does that happen. Everything feels so mature, and for the best reasons. Finally, Dreamworks understands that just because you're making an animated film doesn't mean you have to cater everything towards children. Let's talk about those themes, as Puss in Boots even does something you don't see often, which is that Puss in Boots has his own internal crisis. At the start of the movie, Puss in Boots is kind of a dick. But throughout the course of the movie, we get to see Puss in Boots not taking life for granted and having a life worth living. And by adding a villainous character who is literal death is a brilliant twist and a dark way of telling your story's themes. This character is incredibly scary, and his whole design is incredibly cool, and with the poncho, it is clearly inspired by a almost villainous version of the Man with No Name from Clint Eastwood's spaghetti western's famous character. Puss in Boots' themes of death not only add to the darker tone of the movie, but also give a truly meaning and inspiring message for the character. When Puss in Boots finally stands up to death, not only does it round up his character arc, but it adds weight to the fight. Similar to something like Star Wars with the fight between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, not only is it a beautifully choreographed fight sequence, but because of the deeper meaning and impact it has on the character, it adds more depth to the scene. Every fight sequence in Puss in Boots has weight, and with the added style of animation, it makes it all the better to watch. All the emotional themes adds to this action-packed style Puss in Boots goes for. It isn't going to necessarily make you cry, but similar to other amazing action films like Star Wars, The Matrix, and even Kill Bill, adding these amazing themes highly heightens your theme's tone and the feel of the movie, and naturally, it makes it all the more better. Puss in Boots has never felt more real and grounded. Even in Shrek 2, despite being a standout in that movie, he always felt no more than a parody character. This film adds such weight, depth, and character to him, truly creating something very special. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is the surprise of the year. Who would have thought a spin-off character would have such an impact? Not only on his own franchise, but by being one of Dreamworks' best movies. Changing action in animation truly shows how important mature films like this truly are. I only hope going forward Dreamworks see the reason we love this movie, because they clearly have the talent to create meaningful art like this film. So after all that, it gets my professional rating of 8 out of 10. And my personal rating of 8 out of 10 as well. This film has amazing action, great animation, and wonderful themes. Dreamworks have always sort of been, you could argue, third best, being, in my opinion, Pixar, Disney, then Dreamworks. And every now and then they do bring out some amazing films, and this is one of them. It is definitely one of the best Dreamworks films I have ever seen. Keep going, Dreamworks. You've got this. So thank you for joining me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed Puss in Boots: The Last Wish as much as I did. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more great content on all your animated movies. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you all in the next one.